Gentleman from Fairfax, Mr. Plum.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The gentleman may proceed.
Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I was a bit concerned as the way our session ended yesterday, and I thought it might be valuable to go back and reflect for a couple moments on what happened and what it means for us as we go forward. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I don't intend to argue the merits of a Supreme Court nominee. That nominee's qualifications are unchallenged. She was yesterday one of the best candidates we've seen for the Supreme Court in many a day, and she remains that today, Mr. Speaker. The point is not her qualifications. The point is the actions of the House and how we go about doing our business. And, Mr. Speaker, I must say to you, I have some concern about the way we conducted our business yesterday. Specifically, Mr. Speaker, it is the case that when we have nominations for judgeships, we put those through in a resolution. Those resolutions are presented to, that resolution is presented to us, and the Speaker poses the question, those in favor of the nominee for Justice of the Supreme Court will vote aye. It was with some amazement that I witnessed something I had never seen in the years that I've been on this floor, and that was you, Mr. Speaker, and 55 of your colleagues casting a no vote. What makes that exceptional is that vote has no meaning in terms of the count, because the constitutional requirement for selection requires a majority of each House of those voting aye. The no vote doesn't count. It's an election, not the passage of a bill, and that's why we go with the ayes. Now, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I sat on this floor for many a year. When I came here in 1978, there were 78 Democrats, 17 Republicans, and 5 independents. And periodically it would be the case that someone would get their nose bent out of shape, they'd get upset about something, they'd want to have a fight on the floor, and the reaction was sometimes inappropriate. But, Mr. Speaker, you'll recall some of those people in the past who would then stand up in the minority and call to task the majority and suggest that what they had witnessed was an arrogance of power. And for more than a decade, I heard that theme and witnessed what was an arrogance of power. I might point out to you, it didn't work too well for us. While we may have been cutesy on that particular day, ultimately the people made a judgment that that kind of action is not appropriate. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I think I witnessed again yesterday the arrogance of power. We sometimes do things because we can, not necessarily because it's a good idea, but simply because we have the power to do it. But what we do when we do that is we affect our institution. We affect the way people view the House of Delegates. We affect how it will be that we go forward in our business in the future. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm sad today because I really think we took some luster off of the image and reputation of the House of Delegates. I think we did ourselves a disservice yesterday, which was actually kind of pointless. There were only 38 votes in favor. So what is the message we're sending with 56 votes that are not going to be counted? I believe that if you were in my position today and I had been part of a majority back as we were back in the beginning of my career, you would have said that's an arrogance of power. And it's an arrogance of power when you're in power, but it also affects how people look at us. And this is really the sad commentary. I always like to be able to go home and talk about what we've done and say, well, we're not like those people up in Washington. We're not like those people in Washington. I'm not sure I can say that anymore. Because what I believe I witnessed yesterday on the floor was, in fact, a manifestation of the kind of thing that you see in Washington all the time. I think our institution is diminished by what happened yesterday. I'm saddened by that. And, Mr. Speaker, as I've expressed to you before, I hope the House will have the leadership to be led in such a way that we will not see this kind of arrogance in the future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.